So what Paul is doing here really is he's using the imagery of changing clothes. So he says the old self is like a garment, and we're supposed to take off that old self and then to clothe ourselves with the new self. Changing clothes here. And the old self had certain practices, habits, behaviors that it did, and the new self has certain practices and behaviors that it doesn't. So we're to put off those behaviors that were appropriate, or that at least were attended the old self, and we're to put on the behaviors, engage in the practices that are to characterize the new self. Now, what I want to address, and we'll be fleshing some of that out in the weeks to come, what I want to do this morning is look at the foundation of this whole thing. The foundation for our new self is that Paul says we are, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved. As God's chosen people, we're to put on this new self. For Paul, we don't put on a new self to try to become a better person. This isn't some kind of, Christianity is not some sort of self-help project. Rather, it's because of what is already true about us that we then try to manifest that truth. And what's already true about us, Paul says, is that we're God's chosen people. Now, what does that mean? That's the question this morning. What does that mean? What does that concept entail? It goes back, as many of you know, to the Old Testament, where Israel was God's chosen people. And so we read over and over again passages like Deuteronomy 7, where the Lord says, "For you are a people holy to the Lord your God." Holy means consecrated, set apart. "The Lord your God has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession." This idea of being a chosen people has bothered a lot of folks. Doesn't rub well with Americans, where all people are supposed to be created equal, right? Here, it seems like God is playing favorites. Out of all the peoples on the earth, I choose you. Of all the peoples of the earth, you are my treasured possession. Which seems to imply that not everyone is his treasured possession, just Israel. What is up with that? I've known a number of folks who've been rather afraid of this concept. It installs fear in them because part of their old identity is that they're not the kind of people that are ever chosen for anything. And so when you hear about something, a God who just chooses people, it pushes their fear buttons because, well, they don't see themselves as the kind of folks who are ever chosen for anything.